We've seen the ability to sort a report's data that overrides the sort of the underlying data. So if we base a report on the customers table, it will want to be sorted by the primary key, but we can override that sort as we saw by the surname and then the first name. Now, to take things a little bit further, we can actually group our report. So if we look at the RPT customers all, we see all of our customers in a nice tabular layout. What would be quite useful is if we could put a heading here that gives us a group based on perhaps their marital status. Well, to add a grouping, and that group can be on any of the fields in your data, we go into Design View, make sure that the Group and Sort section is available at the bottom here. If it's not, so if I close that, and we need it to be there, we simply go to Group and Sort from the Design sub-ribbon, and that brings it back. Then we choose Add a Group. We choose which of our fields we would like to group on, and I suggested marital status, so let's stay with that. And we now get Group on Marital Status. Now, having added the group, you'll see that in our report design, we have a marital status header, and in our options here where it says More, we can add a footer, because it defaults to without a footer. So I'm going to say with a footer section, and then that appears in the report. So the header and the footer of our group actually circumvent the details section. So the way our grouping will work is it will group by each unique marital status, then produce all the details, so all the data for that section, so the married and then the single. And then in the footer, we could perhaps add some calculation to add up the number of people or the quantity of sales for each marital status, before it then repeats that process again. Now, into our marital status header, we really need to know which marital status we're currently looking at, and we do that by adding in the field. So we take the marital status field from our field list and drop that into the marital status header. Now, we don't really need the label, so I'm going to click on and then delete, and then move the marital status data to the left, widen it, and let's make it a little bit bigger. So on the Format sub-ribbon, we can go bold and just a couple of points higher, just so that it stands out as a heading. And then in Print Preview, we'll see what we've done. So there's our group heading, M for married. And if we scroll through all the pages, of which there are quite a few, we will see where the second group starts. Now we could carry on clicking away, or I can type in the page that I know the next group starts on, which is 478. And we can see there S for single, and then the single people start. So the grouping there is going to break down our data on the report into meaningful sections. In design, we can make our group really be grouped on any of the fields by choosing here, but obviously you would need a field that had repeating values, such as the yearly income. So I've changed that to the yearly income header. Really, I shouldn't have the marital status label in there, as that's not going to make much sense. So let's delete that and put the yearly income in there. No label required. Yearly income, and let's view Print Preview. 0 to 25,000. And again, because there are a lot of data records in each group, we would need to scroll a long way to find the next grouping header. But it's that straightforward. Choose a group. The data is then grouped by the unique values alphabetically within that data. So you can see from smallest to largest. We can make it go the other way, largest to smallest. So your data group is then in backwards alphabetical order. Then within a group, you can then add a subsequent sort. So I could go last name and first name, but that will be within the grouping. So it will always group on the yearly income first. Then within the yearly income grouping, we sort by last name and then by first name. So that's grouping your report. Pick a sensible field to group on, and the unique values within that data will then form the groups of your report and will be displayed as a group heading. Anything you put in there will be repeated, at the top of each group, and then we have the actual records. Sometimes within your group, you may wish to move these labels that are currently in the page header into the group header. Back into design, I can move those down into the group header by selecting them all by clicking here in the left-hand margin. That picks up everything across from there, and then just drag the whole lot down into the yearly income header. That way, when you print preview, the labels are now at the top of the column. And that shows you the ability to group by any particular field you like in your data set within your report, and that you can then move your labels from the page header into the group header so that they appear at the top of each of your grouped values.